All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
Happy Tuesday. Happy April 2nd. Gyirasin's next to me. That means it's baseball season, baby. Good to see you, Gyirasin. Good to see you. Paraby, Go Collect, Sean Sullivan, Lone Wolf, Hamwich, Jake, Colin T. Appreciate everyone hanging out as always. Hope you're all having a great Tuesday. I'm ready to talk some baseball. It's been a while. If I'm a little bit rusty, forgive me. Just got back also from Vegas, so I've been catching up what was going on in the MLB. I was not dialed in, locked in like usual. So my opening day started yesterday is today. Hey, but we get some of these first end rotation guys back in there after the long weekend. Yesterday's pitching, gross. I mean, the chalk kind of got there. Minaya, Houck got there as well. But get the Biebers, the Darvishes, Bellows, Luis Castillo's names, very recognizable names on the mound today. Very cold across the country. I'm pretty much crossing off. We were talking a little pre-show, crossing off this Detroit Mets game. It's orange. I look at Kevin Ross stuff on weather. It's orange. Nothing I really even need for pitching or hitting anyway on this slate. 9 games, make it 8 games. I've talked enough, though. Rob's in here. Little Neck's in here. Gyirasin, how you doing on this fine Tuesday?
Man, loving it. Like you said, hey, baseball's back. Love being back on here with you guys. Hey, last show, I got to do it with my boy Ham, and I didn't get to, I got to mention to him. It was fun hanging out with you guys, especially you there out there in Arizona. Had a great time. So definitely love hanging out with the boys. I realized I'm old, though, Title. I'm the old guy,
You're struggling?
There gets to be some times where the legs were struggling. The party wasn't struggling. It was the legs that struggled. But, walking around as much as we did, it was a good time. But, hey, we got some baseball to talk about. Man, I'm looking forward to this. First off, hey, a lot of new – if anybody's new here, welcome. And if you're been here before, let's sit back, talk about this slate here. It's kind of a crazy one, if you ask me. I mean, we got some good pitching that, you named some decent names there, but, they've kind of started out slow, struggled a little bit in some of their first starts. We got Darvish, who's got his third start already of the year. We got some weather issues, as you mentioned, the Detroit game, but we got to watch out in that Chicago area over there. Loving that Cubbies offense and love a little bit of that Assad over there or on the mound over there. But, man, we got to watch a little bit with that weather. Sounds like it's going to be moving on out of there before game starts, but definitely still want to keep your ear to the ground there. Never know, man. They get a little trigger happy to cancel some of these games here, especially at the beginning of the season, because who wants to play in some cold, rainy-ass weather? Not me. But, man.
Yeah. Not me either.
Yeah, no thanks. I don't even like playing golf in that shit, let alone playing softball or baseball or whatever else there. But yeah, so I don't know. I like what we see here. One thing, like I was talking a little pre-show here, about the Braves. It seems like the Braves are going to be kind of low owned today, which I kind of find interesting. It's not really being talked about in here against the same pitcher, Cratchit, which the Tigers were pretty popular on opening day against that kid. So now all of a sudden, which the Tigers really aren't very good against lefties, all of a sudden you're going to tell me it goes from one extreme to the next, in my opinion, with the Braves. How in the hell come on. This is the Braves. This isn't the Tigers we're talking about here. So the Braves, I think, could get to this young kid. I think he's in a little bit over his head. Sign me up for some Braves today. And then you got Andrew in the chat there mentioning Austin Riley's birthday bomb. But, man, like I said, though, with the Braves, it just seems like there's a few other stacks that are getting mentioned that seem to be getting a little bit more love across the industry. I just don't understand it. I opened it up and was like, Braves. Yep, Braves. It was Braves instantly for me. So, but Title, we'll have to break it down here and check it out and see what we can do. We know the Braves are expensive too. So are we going to go high-end pitching? We're going to go low-end pitching. What are we going to do? But looking forward to diving into it here with you. Our first show of the year together here. So we got many more to come. But, yeah, lots of fun coming up through here this whole summer.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to talk some ball with you for sure. Yeah, I mean, Braves are definitely – we're going to – how this show's going to go. First of all, actually, let's do this right now. If you want to join, if you're not a member at SHIPITNation.com, Of course, we got MMA, we got PGA, best PGA team, Hoop, Tambo, DGen. We got NASCAR on Sundays. Already said MMA. NBA, Rio still grinding. NBA slate plans up right now. All you members, Paraby I saw in the Discord all the time. Jordan's in there. NBA still going. Have these NBA shows. MLB season now. We're going to talk MLB. Still going on with NBA, though. Still going on. College football. We have tennis stuff. We have other sports that aren't, you don't need premium content. It's not a premium thing we charge for. We do have people. League of Legends, Joshua Hart. Shout out him, always in the Discord, doing League of Legends stuff in there as well. There's no better price in the industry. So we have $59 a month in terms of monthly. We have 6 month. We have an annual package. Best deal in the industry. If you want to use those, use promo code HOOP15. Gets you 15% off. If you just want to play MLB, you're watching this, you say in the summer, I don't do golf, I don't do MMA, I just do NFL and MLB. We do have an MLB promo as well. If you do the monthly, $39 a month, use the promo code MLB15. Takes you to $1 a day, about $33 a month. $1 a day, you get all the MLB content. We'll show some of it off here. Yearly, comes down to below $200, $195. Use the promo code MLB15 for the yearly package. Again, just MLB only, gets you in the Discord and the MLB. People ask for it, so we did give it just an MLB package if that's all you do in the summer. If you want all the sports, use Hoop15, 15% off. We have weekly, monthly, 6 month, annual packages. All of them include the Discord except the weekly. Promo codes all included except the weekly. If you just want to check it out, here you go right here. Makes it so much easier. Tambo, thanks for the graphic. I forgot about it. $14 a week, $39 a month, $229 a year before using that promo code. Drops it all down there. You can see projections, stack rankings, pitcher rankings, slate plans, core reports, etc. That's enough talking though for me, Gyiraszin. We'll talk pitching first, then we'll go broad slate overview for hitting and stacks. Pitcher though, I want to break it down 8K and above because Brian Bello down there at 8K going to be one of the most popular pitchers on the slate. You go up a little bit, 8.2K. Yu Darvish is sitting there, one of the most popular plays on the slate. Then I think Shane Bieber rounds it out in terms of ownership, 8.8K against Seattle, the third chalkiest pitcher on the slate. But there's still other guys up here I think you can get different in the top tier. Luis Castillo, 9.4, going to get some ownership, but I do think is a tier down below the others. Zach Gallen's up there. He's not getting much look. I'm going to throw it to you, though, on FanDuel. You're more of a FanDuel player. I guess I'll touch more DK because you're on FanDuel. I do think the same pitchers get the same love. I think Bello at 8.8K is people's preferred right now. Bieber's the only one above 10.2K. I have all these slates pulled up right here, so I tweaked on that. But I do think Bello, popular. Shane Bieber's lower owned on FanDuel than DK with the price difference. Luis Castillo, 9.9, I think is a little lower owned as well. I'll throw it to you, though. How do you see pitcher, broad slate, touch FanDuel, touch DraftKings, however you see it?
Yeah, if you want to start, I'll start like you mentioned with the DK pricing with Bello. We'll start with Bello. I think he's definitely interesting. Anytime you got the A's, you got to consider playing the pitcher against the A's. Bieber, who's also on this slate, struck out 11 of the A's on opening day. So that is something definitely to think about. I just think that Oakland offense is absolutely terrible. I think Bello, I'd be happy with 5, 6, 7 Ks out of him, maybe get 4 or 5, 5, 6 innings out of him. I think that's what we're looking for, get a win and possibly a quality start over there on FanDuel. I think that's a possibility at that price range. So he's definitely interesting for me. Moving up the scale with Darvish, Darvish did have a decent start last start. The only problem I had with it is, especially if you're looking over there on FanDuel, he did have 5 innings. He gave up 1 earned run, had 7 Ks. I need them 6 innings, right? He only had 78 pitches. He had 72 pitches the time before. We've seen a little consistency there in his pitch count. So is that where they're going to start yanking him out? We'll let him, he is a little older. That's a little bit of a concern for me. I think he's a safe play. But if you're looking to win a high-end, a tournament with 20, 50, 100 people or more, I don't think Yu Darvish is probably going to be at the top of that board. I really don't have any interest in Yarbrough. I think that's going to be more of a bullpen game over there. Yarbrough, I'm not going there for 8,200. Webb, not going there against the Dodgers. No, thank you. Valdez was somebody who struggled quite a bit. his last start out. He's 8,500 here. He had 6 walks his last start, which is not like him. So, is he just not ready yet? We'll give him a little bit of a break. It is start 1, but I'm curious, is he ready to ship yet? So, like I wrote up in our slate plan, I thought Toronto could be an interesting low-owned stack here today. Now, Bieber, I think, is going to be, probably the highest owned pitcher. I'm going to guess probably maybe even on both sites, potentially. Bieber is 10-2 highest priced pitcher over on FanDuel. He's not as high priced. He's only 8,800 over on DK. So you got Castillo a little bit ahead of him. But, Bieber came out strong, as I mentioned, 11 Ks against Oakland. He historically over his career, he has been a strikeout pitcher. Didn't really, fare too well. Mid-20s, I think, percent last season, 21%, I believe. Maybe the number I think is sticking in my head. I'm not really looking at any kind of, this is going off the top of my head. But Gallen, I'm not really happy with him with New York there. And Castillo, I think, is definitely interesting. It's just, it looked like, from what I'm seeing and reading around, Castillo just struggled a little bit coming out. Didn't have that many swings and misses his last start. Only end up having, 5 Ks last start. He did give up 4 earned runs. It's just a little bit concerning there. I do like him, though. I think, especially in this matchup with Cleveland, I think that he's interesting. But Bieber's my favorite on both sites. I do like Bieber, and I also do like Bello, as I mentioned. I may even go a little bit Bello because I do like some Braves. So I think Bello fits a little bit better for me instead of paying 10-2 for a pitcher, especially over there on FanDuel. So I think I like Bello. Let's go Bello number 1 on FanDuel. I'm going to go number 2, Bieber on FanDuel, but on DK, I'm going Bieber 1, and then I'll probably go Castillo 2.
Yeah, I like it. You can see our pitcher rankings I put up here. I'm just going to show these top ones. Again, like Milwaukee, Minnesota, that game locks at 4:10 Eastern, so that's not on the slate. But it is very interesting. So Bello, I do think the consensus, at least 2 of the 3 top owned pitchers on the slate, we do have in our top 5. Framber was the very interesting one that we liked. And man, like last performance, recency bias, especially early in the year, just after one poor start. That can mean so many things. That's why I do think Luis Castillo up top there's plenty of bats enough. There's cheap enough bats on the slate. You can go with Luis Castillo, Shane Bieber easily. You can go, if you want to go Gallen as your spend up to get a little different. I like Castillo for his upside. It was a shaky first start. His pitch count didn't get all the way up there. But, man, his strikeout upside compared to Bieber, like last year, it was always Luis Castillo if you wanted upside. Darvish compared to Castillo, always Luis Castillo. K-prop is good on him. None of these K-prop, like 6.5 for Bieber, juice on the over. 6.5 for Darvish, juice on the under a little bit. Framber, 5.5, pretty much a coin flip. Not bad at all. Gallen, I don't love with his upside against New York. So I would definitely leave up top there. Castillo, I like more. Bieber, I like more. I like Framber more. Bello more. So I would cut Gallen. I'm not playing anyone against the Dodgers right now. So no Logan Webb. Yarbrough, no thanks. So that's 8K and above right there. I rank them. I like the game stack. Bieber, Castillo. Just both of them in that same game. Cold, Seattle. That's my 2 favorites. Bello, 3rd is chalk, and then you would be 4th is how I see it with you. Let's go down, though, because I know you mentioned Javier Assad. We're just going to go 8K all the way and below because a lot of these guys I think you can throw out. You mentioned Javier Assad. A couple other interesting ones. Crotchet we talked about pre-show. I want you to touch on him. Ronaldo Lopez, I think, is an interesting – he's going to get the most ownership as the pivot off of Assad. He's like the other cheap guy people will roster. But the pitch count, he's definitely not – so he's a guy that used to be in the bullpen, good strikeout stuff. Pitch count is definitely capped. But, the K prop was 5.5 too, pretty much the same as Assad, or a 4.5 K prop for Assad. Ronaldo Lopez K prop actually just went off on DraftKings. I thought it was 4.5 or 5.5. But yeah, on DraftKings, FanDuel, you're not going to get there because of the quality start. Touch on that side more on DraftKings. I've talked long enough, though. 8K and below. What do you like?
Yeah, Assad is somebody that I definitely like the most in this group, and it's for obvious reasons. It's the Rockies are going up against them there. I mean, Rockies are just god awful, man. They're on the road in the cold, like they're just terrible. So, I don't think Assad is that great of a pitcher. That's why he's 6,600. He's basically a mediocre pitcher, but in the matchup in the cold against the Rockies, I'll take it. I think it's a great play. I think he is going to be fairly popular. I think you're going to see quite a bit of him. As you mentioned, I think the pivot is going to end up being Lopez, but man, I just not a fan of his walk rate. He's just got a really high walk rate. So that just kind of worries me. He did have a 30% K rate coming out of the bullpen, but I'm just concerned about his walk rate there. It is obviously going to be cold there too. So, I mean, we got another cold weather game. That's Chicago, cold and windy, rainy. I mean, it's just not a baseball type weather. So definitely something you could think about there. You go with Crotchet. I mean, he like I said, he looked good against the Tigers. The Tigers really are not very good against left-handed pitching. We saw it last night with Manaea. Manaea looked like he could win the damn Cy Young last night. So, I'm not a fan of Crotchet. And like I mentioned earlier, to me, there was a lot of people that were on the Tigers opening day, cheap stack, they're fairly popular. They're all in the teens, 20% ownership range. And then here you got the Braves coming in and, you're not seeing it. To me, it just should be, the Braves should be obviously the stack. So I have no interest in Crotchet. Now, if you believe in what you saw and you watched it and you want to go against the Braves, you go right ahead. I wouldn't advise for that, but definitely something that I'm not looking into doing. I'm not really interested in Michaelis at all. He just doesn't miss too many bats out there in San Diego. I'm not going Wood. Freeland, no way. I'm not doing that either. So Nestor Cortez, I'm not a fan out there against Arizona. So for me, it'd be Assad. If you want to go Lopez, I don't blame you there. But I like the cold weather going against the Rockies. Definitely seems like a good play, especially over here. What is he, 6,600 over here on DK, and I believe on FanDuel he's pretty cheap too on FanDuel.
Who?
Assad. He's 6'2". He's 6'2" over on FanDuel. So, if you like Assad, you definitely get you some Braves in that lineup. Probably get you a pretty nice one-off too if you wanted to go that way. But if you want to go all the way up to Bieber at 10-2, you might be able to mix in some Braves. You might just have to get a little tricky with some of your one-offs. Might have to go with some really cheap one-offs. But, man, I just think, especially on FanDuel, I mean, like I mentioned, Bello is my favorite play over on FanDuel. But I think you could go down to Assad if you really want to load up on some bats.
What about, I'm trying to look at other very low-owned pivots. What about like a Nestor Cortez? 7.3K, right in between Lopez and Assad. I mean, the over in that game, 8.5 open, now at 9. K-prop 4.5, minus 135 on the over. Like, you just look at K-prop, it's Cortez over Assad. Obviously, now you're comparing Colorado to Arizona. The weather's awful. There's a lot more factors that go into it. But at least in terms of upside, that's who stands out to me. I'm trying to, if I'm eating chalk up top, again, Castillo will be lower owned than the Biebers of the world. So I think he's a fine pivot. I don't mind Valdez either. Just ride the pitcher rankings, maybe one bad start. But Cortez down below was the guy. But I will say, I think just AK and above and just sticking to like 3 or 4 guys up top at pitcher, there's enough cheap bats on this slate, one-offs, 5-2-1s. Like, you can even go Braves, Bieber, Castillo, a 5-man Braves and make things work. It's not tight enough salary yet, in my opinion, that I think we need to get on a chalkier side just because he's the only one down there or something. But throw it to you on Cortez.
Yeah.
Or anyone in chat. Anyone in chat, too. If you guys got a low-owned name, I want to look into it a little bit more. What's going on, Jacob, Jordan, Joe? Appreciate you guys hanging out. Good to see you guys. One other thing, Gyiraszin first. So whether we mentioned Detroit Mets, we're pretty much scrapping it. The other games, Atlanta, Chicago, and then Colorado, Chicago, the Midwest. Yellow, green, Roth has it. So we're expecting it to play. Pitching be fine, but I monitor Roth stuff. It's free. I look at his tags. So that's the weather games on the slate. Cortez, anything else at pitcher, Gyiraszin?
Yeah, there's some other spots. If I roster Cortez and he starts that's like remote control breaking shit for me because that guy drives me crazy. he does have some strikeout upside. He just seems to get in a funk sometimes when I'm watching him, and he just gives up runs and punches, and he just gives up too many hard hits to right-handers. And I like some of the bats over there, the right-handers, like Christian Walker, I think is in a pretty good spot here tonight for the D-backs against Cortez. And you look at Cortez's numbers against the righties. He's, like I said, gets hard hit, fly balls, just doesn't miss bats. And I just think out there in Arizona tonight, you might see him get lit up. But yeah, I just think there's some other spots that I like. I mean, Barrios is another guy too. I mean, he's a veteran that, you could potentially look at as a pivot. I don't really particularly want to go there. But, pitching really isn't really that strong tonight that where you say, oh man, you got to have this. I used to, like last year was Spencer Strider day, right? Like when Spencer Strider pitched, if he lit it up for 65, 70 points, like he could in at least a third, if not half of his starts, and you didn't have him, you're pretty much screwed. Right. So, there was only really one guy I was really afraid of last year. That was Strider that can throw up numbers like that. We don't obviously have that here on this slate today. So that's why, I don't mind if anybody wants to mix it up. I just particularly think, the handful of guys I have, like I said, Bieber, Bello, Assad, Castillo, pretty much that's where I think I'm going to be going. Try to get a little different with my bats, with my stacks. I'm really, I just haven't really looked into the numbers title as far as, what kind of ownership we're going to be looking at on all of them. I haven't looked at any of the charts, but I just feel as if, and generally my instincts are right on, who's going to be the higher owned. Like I said, I think Bieber is going to be the highest owned on DK. And then I think you'll see Bello probably come in, probably the highest owned on FanDuel, I would assume. You may get Bieber in there coming closer. Bello might be a little closer to Bieber on FanDuel, if not. But, yeah, I think Castillo will be up there in the top three. But I think those two will pretty much dominate the rankings today.
Yeah, I think DraftKings is going to be Bello, Bieber as the top three. I feel pretty strong about that. Then I think it'll be like the Castillos, the Assads, probably that. That's how I got top five. And I think it's pretty clear. And honestly, I'd rather fade chalkier bats. Like it's baseball. Like chalk is like 18%. You play the seventh highest stack on the slate, they're like 10%. Like you don't need to just have single digit on people in baseball. Why I'd rather eat chalk pitcher than the bats, though, is you're right. There's no slam dunks, but it feels like the Beavers, the U's, the Bellows against Oakland. Usually I would consider Bello as safe, and he definitely isn't. Oakland's just that bad. But those guys feel way safer than anyone else. Like any other pivot you can try and make, even Luis Castillo. That's why GPPs, I'll buy into that a little bit. But he's a lot more risky, it feels like, than the Beavers, than Bello. And maybe there is some strikeouts in this Yankees lineup for Gallen, but I don't know. I still don't like his upside, and the K-prop reflects it. So my last thoughts on pitcher, I'll go to you. Just last thoughts for me. Castillo, Bieber, the game stack. Bello against Oakland. Framber, and pretty much I don't even say Assad, Lopez. No, thank you, really. I mean, they're fine for sure, but give me those 8K and above guys. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, just to go off your point where you were saying, you're not really too much worried about some of the chalk with the pitchers. We get different with bats. Like, if you don't get pitcher right, you're pretty much hosed, right? I mean, so I don't like my pitcher getting blown up. It just ruins your whole damn baseball night. So for me, I'd almost rather take, try to be safer. Like last night, and I do put some weight, the stock and weight into two pitchers going against each other. Like last night, I had Reese and I had Minaya. I thought, man, this is great. And then, some jerk named Blanco has to go out and throw a no-hitter last night and kind of ruined my thought, but he's not in there. Man, I had the two of the best in the same game. They get battling each other. I like that. I think you could see that tonight in that Seattle and Cleveland game there. So, yeah, like you were saying earlier, I don't mind that at all, especially on DK if you wanted to go that route. I bet you won't see too many people probably having that higher end pitching either. So it's definitely something to think about there. But, yeah, for me, I think it's pretty clear, as I mentioned. I like Bello. I'm going to be over on FanDuel pretty much playing most of my action. The queue over there on DraftKings is $1,200. So I'm going to sit that one out tonight. I was in the 191 last night. But $1,200, I'll let those boys fight it out. I'll wait for another day. especially on a slate where I'm really not too sure. If I really, really like something here, title, I might throw me a shot in there. I think there's still a couple open spots over there in that queue, but I'm just going to focus on FanDuel. I'm going to ship that $100 single entry here tonight. But I'm pretty certain I'm going to have Bello as my pitcher.
I love it. If I didn't leave a couple too many $1,200 tickets in Vegas, maybe I would have thrown something in there too. But don't have it. Got to work that bankroll back up first. All right, let's get into bats in this one. I do want to show, of course, just show those pitching projections, our pitching rankings. Here's our projections. You can see very easy on the slate. If you're just doing turbo slate, click turbo. All the games for that. Showdown, main slate right here. Sort it by salary, point per dollar. You want to sort by position. You want to sort by team. Very, very easy. I think I keep saying sort, not sort. You guys get what I'm saying. FanDuel, DraftKings, you can CSV the projections. Very easy to do. Updated throughout the night. Timestamps. And this goes for all of our sports up here. You need projections. We got them. You need to play money. You need to save money at least to have a bankroll to be able to play DFS. Unfortunately, crazy. I mean, I hate doing this, but some of these sites, it's been time for me to reload my subscriptions on some of these sites. I'm in the industry. I pay for all the sites as well. Man, it only keeps going up. And hey, you can write it off for some people. Only 30% though is just what I learned from my accountant. Having to make some cuts, it's tough out there. We try and have it as cheap as possible with content, the best content you need, a Discord community like we have. All the sports, if you want Hoop 15, use that promo code. If you just want MLB for the summer, use code MLB15. Get 15% off. Get in the Discord. We try and do our best. A great community. Try and help people make some money. People help us all the time too. So many sharp people down there. Let's get into bats though. I'll show off. Feeling good today. I'll show off a little bit of these hitter rankings. Let's go. Yeah, let's go to the top 10. There we go. Top 10. And this is, again, very easily sortable. If you just want, how I like to do it a lot, position. Just say there might be a very weak position, catcher today. You can see where it has it ranked right now. A couple of guys stand way above the rest. That might not have been the best. Let's go to another position to see if something stands out. You can see like a positional scarcity. Here we go. I mean, I guess shortstop, but Seager stands out and Mookie. Otherwise, everyone else 20. Then as you go down, it gets way worse. So I like doing the hitter rankings. Go to position, see positional scarcity. It helps me fill out. Otherwise, you only have 3,800 left on FanDuel or something. You can type that in here, get the top 3,800 guy in the rankings. Little stuff we have to try and help you out. Have the slate plan. I'm not going to show that off yet, though. A lot of hard work Gyiraszin does. Cash report on both sites. GPP core report. If you just want slate info, this is free to everybody right here. You can see top team totals right here. Braves, they're going to get some ownership, Gyiraszin. I hate to tell you, some of them definitely will. Get the Yankees right here, the Cubs, pitching, etc. So that's free for everyone. Let's get back to it, though, for hitting Gyiraszin. Let's just cross off this game for me. The Mets game, Mets Detroit, they didn't postpone it yet. 7:10 Eastern. I'm not playing anyone. Casey Mize, Adrian Hauser, 7.5 point favorites, man. Vegas, 7.5 run total. What do you got in this one? I'm crossing it off with weather.
Yeah, I didn't really dive too far into it. It just looks like a dud from everything I'm seeing. Rain all day, so we'll have to wait another day for Casey Mize to come back.
All right. There we go, Jordan. Hidden rankings were on fire yesterday. Love to see that. Only gets better as the season goes too. What's going on, Toga? It's only a 93% chance of rain in Chicago. I'm not a weatherman. I follow sharper people. Roth is sharp. He thinks they can get it in right now. I'll expect him to get it in. Next game, Atlanta Braves, Chicago White Sox, Ronaldo Lopez, Garrett Crotchet on the mound. 9 total. Braves, highest team total on the slate, 5.3 runs on the road. I mean, hitting weather's awful. It's 40 degrees in Chicago. Again, this game is the yellow-green. We're expecting it to play. Guaranteed ninth inning at bats, though, going against Crotchet, who has a solid K-prop. But, yeah, I mean, the Braves, you can play them every single night, Gyiraszin. They're going to get ownership, though. I'll throw it over to you. On DK, Acuna is going to be one of the most popular bats on the slate. 6.5K. There's enough cheap options you can get there. Ozzy at second base. Second base isn't great today. I think Ozzy gets a little bit of ownership. I do think they are more popular on FanDuel, though, with Assad and Bello being fairly priced and not people just playing one of them. If you play Assad, you can play any bat. You play Bello at 8.8K, you can still fit Acuna is going to be very popular. Ozuna, 3.1K, should be in the middle of the order. He's going to get ownership. Riley, sub 4K. Ozzy, I do think they're higher owned on FanDuel. If I had to pick, I'd rather chalk pitching over the Braves. So that'd be my stance, I guess. But you can always play the Braves. Take it away in this game.
Yeah, I definitely like the Braves. I got to give a little shout out to Sean there, telling us it's
Crochet. Thank you. I guess what? Crochet. Yeah, crochet. I will butcher.
It's like Target or Target, right?
I will butcher a million names. I do MMA, NBA, NFL. There's too many names out there in this world to bet on. You guys know what we're talking about, but crochet, I will definitely try and get that right. So I appreciate any help with pronunciations. Thank you, though.
Yeah, Crochet did look good, like I said, against the Tigers, but it was the Tigers. Tigers are not very good against lefties. So, I like I said, I was kind of interested to see what kind of ownership we were going to get on the Braves. To me, the Braves should be by far the highest owned stack on the slate today. So if I was MMEing, I'd be really, really heavy on the Braves here today. But I only play 3 teams. So I'm going to be using pretty much probably the Braves on all 3 of my teams. And then I'm going to mix in some others. Just kind of seeing what our Michael W has here. Crappy weather, fade the Chicago game. 93% chance of rain from Sean. Hey, that's why I said in the slate plan today, make sure you keep your ears to the ground here with weather. It's not only affects pitching, it's obviously going to affect hitting as well. So, definitely something we're going to have to pay attention to. The White Sox, I am not interested in at all, but definitely interested in the Braves. But hey, if the weather's going to be really crappy and cold, maybe that's a good reason for us to fade it. Maybe that's another reason why we fade the Cubs game. But as you mentioned, I do put a lot of weight into what Kevin Ross says. The guy is generally money. I can't remember ever me cussing out Kevin Ross in my brain, because if I knew if it was a risk, I was taking the risk, because he lays out what the risk is. You don't have to generally guess. Very rarely, I think maybe a Washington game has, come up out of the mid, in the past years that, just kick you in the dick. But other than that, Kevin Ross pretty spot on. If he says they can get it in, I'm going to tell you most times, 99% of the time they get it in. So if that's what he's saying, I'm going to put weight into that. But I definitely think the Braves are definitely somewhere I'm going to be looking at. Crochet, as I mentioned, he did look pretty good. But, man, the Braves, you just look at all their WOBAs against the lefties, man. They're all pretty high. I just think this is too good of a ball club here for this kid. And I'm not really a fan of that bullpen either that we have for the White Sox. So definitely think that's interesting. Braves could definitely put up runs and numbers. We've seen them hit out of the gate too in the cold right out of the beginning of the season. So, I'm not really concerned. I think the Braves are just too good. And hey, if I can get them at any time in the season on a discount, especially a slate like this where there's nothing really standing out and you got the Braves standing there, you got the Dodgers that really nobody's talking about either, the 2 of the best teams, hitting teams in baseball. And neither one, to me, are like glaringly stand out. But I'll take a shot on the Braves here tonight. Like I mentioned, I think you're going to get them a little lower owned they should be.
Yeah. So I like the Braves. We're going to get to this Cubs game after. I think the Cubs get some ownership too on this slate. If I had to pick, I'd go Cubs. Or not Cubs, excuse me. I felt so confident. I'd go Braves. There's no doubt about that. With the guaranteed ninth inning at bats. Freeland tilts me, man. Sometimes feels like every time I stack against Freeland, the dude he navigates the game, ground balls, he gets out of jams, something like that. I much prefer picking on Crochet, which I'm very happy. That's a dope name, so I am happy. Sean corrected me. Crochet I'd rather pick on than I would Freeland. So I like Braves over Cubs. Both will be 2 of the higher stacks ownership on the slate, though. Good question here. You prefer 5-3 stacks or one-offs? I like the 5-3s and 5-2-1s if I have to be in particular. I think 4-4s are fine. On FanDuel, 4-3-1s are my favorite as well. I still think 4-4s are fine. But I definitely want a primary stack on all my teams. Like that's in pretty much every slate. If it's a 4-game MLB slate like Thursday, there's a 4-gamer. You can do some little crazy things, a hitter against a pitcher or something on a 9-game slate, 8-game slate like this. Yeah, five-man stack, figure the rest out. Just hope one of these team nukes, especially early in baseball when it's cold like this. If one team goes out there and puts up 10, you probably want a 5-man stack from that 10 more than likely.
Like
anything on that, Gyiraszin? Like last night, exactly.
Yeah, like last night. You had to have all the Astros. If you had the 5-man Astro stack,
Diaz, Tucker, I guess. So you needed those two.
Yep, you were just dancing if you had the Astro stack last night. On DK, to answer that question, like I said, I play most of my action on FanDuel. I'm a 4-3-1, 4-4 guy over there. Sometimes you'll see me go 4-2 if it's like a low, like 3 or 4 games, 5 games. I might mix it up a little bit. But on DK, I definitely stack the 5-3. 4-4 is okay, like title said, but 5-3 is the way I generally go. 5-2-1, I just feel like at that point you might as well have 3 one-offs. So to me, the 2-man stack, unless you literally have them right next to each other in the lineup, like a 2-3 hitter, 3-4, I wouldn't skip too many hitters. I wouldn't have a 2-6 hitter or something like that if you were looking to save salary on somebody and say, oh, well, I got a 2-man stack. Because you're really just home run hitting at that point. You're not really going to get, a big inning or something like that, to where if you had, 3 guys in a stack, generally like I would on FanDuel. So, stacking is basically the only way to go about it, especially in baseball, in my opinion. Yep. But that Cubs game, though, as you mentioned, we got, the weather in Chicago there, title. We got the cold weather. So, I'm going to just keep my eye on it.
It's cold everywhere.
A perfect thing too. If you play baseball, always have a backup plan. If you're in a situation like here today, know to yourself, hey, I'm on the Cubs today. If this game looks a little dicey and I don't like it, maybe you're on it and all of a sudden you turn on your MLB TV and you see a shot and you're like, oh, hell no, I'm not playing that. It looks like, winds, flags standing up and, it looks shitty and the players, look cold. Like, nah, I'll wait till later. There's some games later tonight that are going to have a little bit better weather. We got some indoor games. So you don't got to jump out the gate here tonight. There's going to be a lot of baseball played at night tonight. So definitely don't have to jump out the gate.
For sure. Yes. These earlier games, there's enough indoor games, and these games out west in LA and Oakland, like 60 degrees. That's fine. So if you want to avoid these 40 degrees, but they are in the best spot, Vegas, the props, all of that still accounts for weather. Like, they know what's going on. They're still implied for 5.3 runs. They know what the weather is going to be, the wind, etc. So I definitely look at weather. I look at it more for, is this game going to be postponed or pitchers not safe, etc. More than, it's really windy, but they're still going to play. That's all baked into it. The last thing I got in this game.
One last thing, Tuttle. I just looked over at the lines, the over-unders in the game. There's only one game that was bet up today, and it got bet up a full run from 7 to 8, and that was the Cubs game. So, of all the games bet up today, a few of them have actually been bet down. So just a thought, some of the bettors, you got more action coming in. They saw that 7 number over there, the Cubbies, against that shitty Rocky pitching staff, and everybody jumped all over it. Maybe that's why. But it's setting up all the way at 8 right now.
Yep. Yeah, good call there. And then last thing I'll mention on this Braves, then we'll keep it going. There's plenty of ways, always ways to get different in baseball. Like I said, you can play Bieber, Castillo, the Braves 5-man and figure it out. Matt Olson, lefty. No one likes playing lefty. 5.9K, very expensive for sure. He can be sub 5% owned in Braves stacks though. Michael Harris, 4.7K, lefty. That should be at the bottom of the order. Always goes overlooked there. Darno is going to get some. Arcia's 3.3, but there's enough cheap bats. 5 through 9 is probably going to be under 5K. Nobody over 10K for pitching, which just shows Braves are kind of easier to fit. You can leave money in baseball too. That's the last thing I'll mention in this one. I have no interest in the White Sox against Lopez. I think the Braves bullpen's good enough. They're not going to let him get shelled out there. Like, just no thanks for the White Sox. If last thing on baseball though was I going to say, man, this weekend too many vodkas going down. Now it's hurting my brain. Gyiraszin. You can leave money.
It was the vodkas. It was probably them.
It was everything. It was there was everything.
And the gambling, like that wears you out, man. I'll be honest. It wears me out.
No, it wears me out. I've been sleeping pretty much all yesterday and today. Hey, you can leave money on the table. $1,800. If your favorite stack tonight was somehow the White Sox and the Rockies, and use the top 2 pitchers on the slate, you're not going to probably be able to fill out all of your money, all your salary. Leave it. If you like that, don't go and upgrade a random 5-man. You have a 5-man stack. Take out 2 of your stacks and upgrade to Aaron Judge and Mike Trout. Don't do that in baseball. You can definitely leave salary. It's not like NBA, NFL. You don't leave all that salary because if you think the pricing algorithms are based on how bad the teams are, bad the spots are, if Spencer Strider's pitching and he gets lit up for 15 runs, you need the other team, and you can't use all your salary physically to do that. So last thing I want to say in baseball, you can definitely leave money on the table, play lefties, low ownership, etc. Let's keep it going, Gyiraszin. I've talked enough. Rockies, Cubs, Kyle Freeland, Javier Assad on the mound. Cubs going to get some ownership, one of the higher team totals on the slate. I prefer Braves to Cubs if having to pick. Rockies, if you want some direct leverage, that's another easy way in baseball. You want to get different, look at the most popular pitchers, stack against them. I don't think we need to do it on this slate. The Rockies aren't good. It's cold. One-off at best, or a little Ryan McMahon, Nolan Jones. I ain't paying 5.3 for Nolan Jones. Ryan McMahon at third base. That's really all I got in this one. What about you?
Yeah, this one is. What's that?
This guy goes, can't believe both these guys are calling Crotchet. Dude, we'll be calling people the wrong names plenty. So
wait till you hear I call the Indians, and I'm not changing either. So if I say Indians, it's the Indians. That's just the way it works.
Vodka crayons and gummies. There's a lot of vodka crayons.
Yeah, vodka crayons and gummies. That's always fun. I like the high noons, though, lately. I've been sucking them down like crazy. I don't feel hungover, Title. I could drink about 20 of them things. Well, you saw, and smoke all day, and I'm good. But either way here. So this game here I do find interesting because you look at Freeland. You mentioned Freeland always seems to bite you in the ass, but he's got such a low K rate to righties. Last season, he only had 12% K rate. And then you're looking at guys like Horner, Suzuki, and then you got Morrell and Swanson. You know, these guys, Cooper. I mean, you got some power there, especially at the top. Horner and Suzuki do not strike out very much against righties, but definitely like those righties here today. But, I mean, as we mentioned, you keep looking back, that cloud's over your head with that weather in there tonight. Without any weather, the Cubs probably would be the number one stack if there was no weather. If it was a nice day in Chicago, 70 degrees, that would be would definitely be way higher up there for me. But yeah, I definitely like the Cubs. I like Morrell. I think Morrell stands out for me today of all the Cubs hitter. I know Suzuki looks pretty juicy too, but Morrell sitting there in the 4-hole at second base, sitting there with a 381 WOBA against lefties. I'm sorry. I'll definitely take that one. That's a guy I'll be looking at here today. I actually put him in the slate plan, little tidbit in one of my guys that I was looking at as some one-offs. So definitely like that one there. But also, I think as far as the Rockies go, just kind of looking at them, I thought Nolan Jones has been a guy that I don't mind at all. He had a 4.04 WOBA against righties last year. I think that's
just so expensive. I like him for sure.
Expensive.
Just, man, clicking 5.3. He's going to be so low because of it in the spot.
Yep.
But that's the thing. Baseball, though, one swing of the bat, you get your 14, and that's all you need. There's no such thing as too expensive with the homers. So, yeah, I like it.
Yeah. But, yeah, listen, I like how you guys are talking about with the names. That's why they don't put us on the hockey show because, we can't.
Too many sports going on, man. People can chirp on names all they want. When you go pay with your winnings, they don't ask you how to pronounce it. I'm good.
You know what? The Brandon Lowe or Nate Lau, or I probably even got that wrong, but I always get that backwards too. Like I can never.
See, MP's saying these guys don't watch MMA shows when we butcher names. No, people aren't used to it.
Right.
UFC doesn't get the traction.
You know what we mean. Give us a break. Like we know. But,
Nolan Jones, Ryan McMahon on the Rockies. Cubs, you like? I will say Morrell, Suzuki will be two of the most popular. Your two favorites, of course, for the Cubs though. Like Bellinger, lefty's not going to get ownership. Horner's 5K leading off. He ain't going to get some. Third base with Morrell and then Suzuki in the 2-hole. Definitely going to get some there. The bottom of the order though, like Madrigal, if he makes it, kind of a punt second baseman. Garrett Cooper's got some pop. Like that's kind of how I'd go down there. I much prefer Braves over Cubs though.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the weather that we got here today. But yeah, I mean, Cubbies, I'm going to keep my ear to the ground here and kind of see where I'm looking at here with some of this weather moving forward. See if, Assad's going to make any of my lineups or not. I'll probably just only go far down to Bello over there on FanDuel. So probably just stick there and just build from there. But Cubbies are definitely interesting. Even if I don't go full stack, maybe they'll be my secondary stack, or even throw some one-offs with Morel, as I mentioned, Suzuki. But yeah, for me, I think Cubs are definitely interesting. I got them ranked as my number 2 stack overall in the day. But man, that weather, as we get a little closer and closer, if it continues just to look shitty, baseball, man, the computer doesn't take in effect like the weather and who the hell wants to play baseball and shit like that? Come on, they don't want to play baseball. We saw that shit yesterday in the Tigers-Mets game. Them guys didn't care. It was 40 degrees. They were like, let's go. Get me out of here. You get hit one on the handle, Title. I know you played. Yeah. I've played enough baseball, man. That stings like no – playing up here in Michigan at the end of March, that shit sucks. Especially you foul one off on your toe. My mother heard a few swear words she never heard before.
Hey, they're not playing in that cold in this one. Toronto and Houston right here. Jose Barrios, Framber Valdez. Talked about Framber a good bit. I think he's an interesting contrarian pivot in that Bieber-Bello range, coming off an awful first starts. But we know, he hasn't been that bad last year. Big favorites, at least relative to the slate. Toronto, though, doesn't strike out a ton, so I don't mind. Like I said, I think Valdez is fine as a pivot. I don't love him by any means. I don't think some of these Toronto bats are crazy, though. Or maybe tell me, would you rather full stack them and just hope if Framber is broke or he does start off bad again? I think maybe talking through it more, I'd rather full stack Toronto if doing anything. Framber's not going to be chalky enough, though, where you get leverage. Houston, though, man, how do you not go right back to Kyle Tucker, to Jordan Alvarez right there? 5'5", 5'6", definitely expensive. Talking 5-2-1s, though. If you go those two as your 2 one-offs or your 2 mini stack right there, they're expensive. You go fill it in with a lower own stack, something like that. Definitely love Kyle Tucker. Ride hot streaks. Ride Yordong. Ownership will be in check because people go Acuna, maybe some of those Cubs, etc. So, yeah, Toronto, interesting, very low-owned full stack if you think Framber is broke. And then Houston side, give me those 2. Tell me if there's anything else you like. Yonder Diaz, maybe.
This game here, it was interesting for me. So, man, let's be honest. I was thinking to myself, this game's in June. We probably don't want nothing to do with it on either side. We might be looking at some of these pitchers here, but both guys, as you mentioned, Valdez a little bit more stumbled out the gate. Valdez, they have 6 walks. That was really alarming for him. And you look at this Toronto lineup, dude, they can pretty much throw an all-righty lineup at him. So I think that is something definitely we got to think about. And they got some pop in that righties. You got Springer, Guerrero, Bichette, Turner, Kirk. You can pretty much go all the way down. Well, maybe even go Schneider, go all the way down to 6. You might even be able to, that's some pretty nasty righties coming down at you in a row here. So, man, I think Toronto is my sneaky stack, man. I think they're my sneaky stack of the day. Let's just kind of figure if Valdez gets blown up a little bit, and then I go back, I look at the bullpen. Houston's given up 12 earned runs already out of their bullpen, a 191 whip. They've given up 5 homers already, 11 walks. They've just not been very good out of the bullpen. So, man, we can beat up Valdez for 4 or 5 innings. We can get into that Houston bullpen. I think Toronto could throw up a pretty big number here. And nobody's talking about them. They got great bounce back spot, just got no hit. Nobody's probably going to look at them. I think Toronto for me is, that's just a sneaky spot that's really glaring for me today. So, yeah, Toronto, I'm going to have me some part of Toronto in some of my FanDuel teams. If I can jam me some Toronto and grab some A's or Braves bats, I think that's going to be the way I'm going to be looking at it because, man, it wouldn't matter if you got what Braves you have. If you got some Toronto bats with them, I think right there is going to be a differentiator, make a difference.
I like it. Yeah, we haven't got to my favorite stacks just yet. Again, I think Toronto is interesting as a full stack. You can eat all the chalk around, hope he's broke. I prefer some of these later ones. Braves, Cubs going to get ownership. Braves, my favorite that we've talked about so far, but I like these later games that we're going to get to. This one definitely don't like. And hey, right on cue. Greg played both pitchers, hope for a 1-0 type game. Cleveland, Seattle Mariners, Bieber, Castillo, 7 total. It's pretty much what I said like 45 minutes ago on this show. So I got no bats in this one. Give me the pitchers duel. Give me a 1-0 type game. I like it. What about you, Gyiraszin? Any bats in this one?
Yeah, I don't have any really bats that stand out here to me. I actually liked a little bit of the Indians last night. And then, Tyler, you know what happened when I was into like the 3rd inning of that game? I said to myself, what in the God's green earth were you doing? Why would you play the team that hits the least amount of homers in all of baseball? What in the hell was I thinking? Like, I had a brain fart beginning of the season. So I'm sorry, that'll never happen again. As far as, any kind of lineups, I got to apologize to my bankroll because I picked a few shekels away yesterday, believing that that might be a sneaky one. So, hey, at least Toronto, my sneaky one today, actually can hit homers. So, I was just disgusted with myself all day, Title, about that. And you know what? Sometimes, and you bounce back with different sports and, you take a little layoff of playing. Sometimes, you step in a pile of shit and you remember, why I know better than that. Why did I do that? And that's what happened to me yesterday. So definitely not going there with these Indians today. No, thank you. One-offs are okay if you want to go that route with those guys. I'm not stacking them until they can show me those guys can hit some home runs. Seattle, no, thank you. Just not interested in anything over there. Maybe if you wanted to go Crawford or somebody, I don't know. I just don't see anybody there that really stands out for me. So I'm going to pass on everybody over there. We probably didn't even need to talk about this game that long.
Giving the people the entertainment. Everyone likes hearing some Gyiraszin. So you're right, though. But I think you'll say that a lot more times in baseball, man. That's the one tilting thing about baseball. You can play the Braves. They can go – the stack you can have can go 0 for 25 or whatever it is, 0 for 22. You're not even surprised at the end of the day. I saw Hype Gotti, saw his team yesterday on Twitter. It was like negative with his pitchers. That's baseball, man. If you're not first, you're last. It's when you win, how much you win. In baseball, you have to be ready to lose a lot of weeks because it's a stacking sport. It's a high variance stacking sport. If they don't score runs, you ain't doing it. You ain't winning nothing.
Yeah. The weak do not survive playing baseball. If you think you're going to win every stinking day, that's just not going to happen. Now, in the $100 single entry on FanDuel, if I clip that thing 4 out of 7 times cash, I'm really happy. If I can get, I'm playing for the top threes. I need one top three or to win that thing once a month and, keep going, just keep going at it, keep grinding it. You'll get up there, you'll get it. And, we all have those big hits. Our one big week of the season, like football, flip 87K week 3 in football. That's just the way it goes. You grind it out the other weeks and, 2x, 3x your money. But anytime you can get 30, 40, 50x on your money, that don't happen all the time. But, hey, you keep grinding, you keep to your process, it's going to come out for you. So just keep at it. Don't keep bouncing around. It's like playing blackjack. Just keep doing the same shit, man. You don't
hit on your 16s. Keep hitting on those 16s. Yes, they were, Naj. You're great. They were definitely bad against left. Blue Jays cost them more money last year than anybody, but they were chalky in a lot of spots. They're definitely low owned today. And I do like a lot of people saying like Braves talking about the 80-degree weather when they smash. It's a lot easier to fade Braves chalk, some Cubs chalk, etc. in cold weather than it is in warmer weather for sure. Because some of those home runs turn into warning track outs, stuff like that. So yeah, give me more chalk pitching over chalk hitting. Today, we'll get to this next game, though. Easy X, in my opinion, Guardians, Mariners. This one's interesting, though. Yankees, Diamondbacks, Nestor Cortez, Zach Gallen, 2 solid pitchers on the mound. 9 total, though, which is the biggest on this slate. Obviously, it's indoors, which you want to be indoors compared to outdoors. I think, the roof. It was actually a pretty decent day today, so I still think the roof will be closed, but I'm not 100% convinced. Looking at game time,
I don't remember reading
70 degrees. Regardless, it's one of the best. You want to target this game for hitting compared to all these other spots on the slate. But Gallen's better than most pitchers on the slate. Nestor Cortez definitely has strikeout ability. He's definitely susceptible to some power, though. Christian Walker, Lourdes Gurriel. I don't mind Moreno at catcher. I don't mind a couple of these D-backs as mini stacks, power hunting. The Yankees, though, against Gallen, I don't know. Talk to me. Pretty solid team total on this slate. Ownership isn't getting there a ton, but Gallen's not a pitcher I love targeting against. So I'm interested in what you're doing there.
Yeah, Gallen's tough. The Yankees kind of bit me in the butt yesterday, so not too sure. But this one does have an over-under at 9, which is the highest on the slate. I have more interest, I think, in the righties for Arizona against Nestor Cortez. As I mentioned, he's got just a lot of hard hit rate coming out of Cortez against the righty. So I'm definitely like some Gurriel, some Walker, some Eugenio. I think I said that right. And some Gabe Marino. So I
Some of it
definitely
was,
like
you
those
know.
guys. I think I have more interest in the D-backs here tonight than I do the Yankees. Gallon is just a guy that, you know, he's just he don't get blown up that much. I just don't think you're going to see him getting smashed. And this Arizona bullpen isn't too bad either. Right now, they're coming out the gate looking pretty good. So I just don't think the blow up potential's there for the Yankees tonight. You know what? The Yankees, to me, they need to get Judge going, right? Like, man, Judge need to get it going. But, you know, you want to be on him the first day? Sure, that he goes nutty. But, you know, some of these hitters that you're paying, you know, premium dollar for haven't, you know, come out the gate swinging too well. You know, it's kind of hard for me to press those buttons, you know. So, like, if you like a Yankee stack, don't be afraid to maybe one-off, you know, one of the high-end bats. You know, maybe get you a different high-end bat, you know, like we mentioned, you know, a little bit earlier with some of the one-off guys we like. But yeah, I'm not going to be on the Yankees here tonight. I'll find me a different spot for them. You're on mute, Donkey.
I'm on mute. I can't navigate this right. I'm doing everything wrong. Hold on. This is what I want to show, though. These stack rankings, like a little Yankees, and I mean, some of these numbers are in the 70s as the year goes on, which shows how bad it is in terms of bats on this slate. A lot of that has to do with weather, but right here are the Yankees. If you want a pretty low-owned stack, our stack rankings like them, our numbers like them. I did want to pull that up. Number 2 right there, the Braves in a tier of their own in first place right there. And we're going to talk about these Red Sox in a little bit and these Giants in a little bit, and they are definitely going to be low-owned. But I'll keep that up there for right now. I got nothing else in that one. Christian Walker, my favorite play in that game. Someone said Corbin Carroll out. Yeah, lineup came out, and yeah, there's no Corbin Carroll. Blaze Alexander in the 2-hole, 2.9K is very interesting at shortstop too. He might get a little bit of ownership. I think he will in the 2-hole there. If you want to go Baraso, probably butchered that name, but he's mid-price 2K down there. Don't mind him. Like, that's kind of how in MLB a lot. I find these teams that, I mean, Cortez, he's not going to be too highly owned, but these low, cheap guys at positions like a shortstop, if it's outfield, whatever, positional scarcity, full punt, jamming 5 expensive bats, jamming pitchers, you can live with zeros. That's the thing about baseball. Anyone 2K, if it makes everything in your lineup work, I could care less if I hate the last person that I plug in my lineup, especially if it is a bad position. So another thing I'll mention for MLB. Let's keep it rolling this game. Cardinals, Padres. I got some interest. Mikolas and Darvish on the mound. I like these Padres, Gyiraszin. Talking weather, we're finally getting out to these late games. West Coast, 60 degrees isn't bad. Mikolas just throws strikes. Doesn't miss many bats. He'll pound the zone. You want home runs. You don't want walks in MLB DFS. You want extra base hits. Drive them in. Mikolas can definitely be susceptible to a lot of runs in an inning because he just meatballs. Padres going to be low owned. 4 team total isn't my favorite. All of these guys, though, I mean, what? No one going to be over 10%? Tatis. No one's going to play Tatis. People rather Alvarez. People rather Acuna, etc. Machado, third base, shortstop eligible. Bottom of the order, very cheap. I like these Padres. 3-man it. 5-man, I don't know. I'll throw it to you on this. Does the Padres offense have enough upside to 5-man be on the winner today?
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, Mikolas just doesn't miss bats. He throws a lot of strikes, very low K rate, 15% to lefties last season, 16% to righties. It's not very good at all. So, yeah, I mean, the Padres definitely have a shot. I like that lineup 1 through 9. You know, you start looking at teams you want to stack, you start getting to the bottom. How many road bumps you got down there? You know, I don't mind this lineup for San Diego. I almost called it something else.
It's but, you got it.
Right. I was thinking something else. I was thinking ahead to the next game. But either way, Tatis, Machado, I think all these guys are in play here tonight. Cronenworth looking pretty nice. They're sitting in the 3-hole. But I think I'd kind of use maybe some of these guys as one-offs is more where I'm at. I like a few other stacks here a little bit more here in this game today. I don't really have any interest against Darvish with any of these St. Louis bats. But as I mentioned, earlier, if you're looking at Darvish, you go look at his pitch count, 78 pitches, 72 pitches. He's I think last game is probably on the high end of the ceiling, on the higher end of his ceiling range that you're going to see. So the 7 Ks, 80 pitches, I think that's about the best you're going to get out of him. I don't think St. Louis has got enough Ks in that lineup for that here tonight, which is why I don't have Darvish ranked higher than he could be. But I think Padres are interesting here tonight, but I just think there's some other spots here I'll be looking at.
Yep, fair enough. Padres definitely going to be low owned. No interest in the Cardinals for me. You do get leverage off of chalk or U if you want to go there. 2 games left on the slate, though. Again, give me these later games. Cubs, Braves going to all get ownership early. I mean, I think, we just talked a little bit about the Padres. I think Boston's interesting here, and I think the Dodgers in this late game's a little interesting. Our stack ranking like Giants as well. So give me these warmer games, dome games that come with a little less ownership than the bad weather games on this slate with the Cubs and Braves. So that's my broad slate overview. Red Sox, Oakland, Brian Bello, Alex Wood on the mound. I'll say I don't mind some of these A's bats if you want to get contrarian off a popular Bello. Now, if you are playing some of them, I'll throw it to you, Gyiraszin. Who's your favorite? Mine would be Giloff at the second base position. Everyone's going to go LBs. It paying up in the 3-hole against Bello. Yeah, really good hitter. That's who I think would be my favorite. Seth Brown or Blade right there as lefties too. I think top of the order. They're cheap enough. Giloff would be my favorite at second, who's going to be very low owned. Don't mind some of these A's bats, though. I'd rather pick on him than I would Bieber. I'd rather pick on Bello chalk than I would Bieber Padres or Bieber Darvish chalk if I have to choose. Red Sox, Alex Wood, though. I mean, Story crushes lefties. Tyler O'Neill. The problem with them is they have a lot of lefties in their order sprinkled throughout. Can always play Devers lefty. I'd be fine with him, but I don't know. Probably more of just a mini stack in this game. But I don't mind any of these A's bats. Start with them if you have interest against a chalky Bello on both sides.
I mean, if you want to go against the chalky Bello, he does have a 13% K rate last season against lefties. I mean, you're going to see 3 out of 4 lefties in the top of that lineup, Noda, Bilday, and Brown. So if I had to choose any of those, Noda would be interesting there, but Bello, there's just too many Ks in this Oakland lineup. I mean, almost everybody is almost mid 20% high. I mean, we got 24, 25, 34, 33, 28, 29, 27.
They just suck.
I mean, they suck. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. So, I mean, it's kind of hard. I do see where you could, if you wanted to stack against them. Now, if you look at Boston, one of my favorite one-offs today is actually Trevor Story. I like Story against Alex Wood here today. I think he's definitely interesting for me today. One of my top one-off guys that I have. And then also, if I was looking there, you got Alex Wood. He 17% strikeout rate on both sides of the plate. Guy just doesn't strike out too many guys. He does have a high ground ball rate. So that's why I'm really not looking at stacking up any of these Red Sox here today. But I think Story can get the ball in the air here today. He is my favorite Red Sox. He's the guy that I'd be looking at here in this game. And I probably will have some Trevor Story as a one-off. I was playing with some lineups and he ended up in a couple of them. So wouldn't doubt if I have him here today.
I like it. Yep, Trevor Story for sure. I don't mind. I said Tyler O'Neill. Myron, a kid likes him. Devers lefty. That'd be my favorite 3-man way to approach it. If you had to pick on Bello, you, or Shane Bieber, if you had to stack against one of those 3, who would you stack against?
Bello, you, or Bieber. Well, I am going to go against you. For the reason being is if you look at that San Diego bullpen, they've already given up 26 earned runs so far. So if we can get, and we already see you is only going 78 pitches. So, if we can get you, beat up a little bit, we might get into that shitty ass bullpen that they got there. I think there's a lot more upside there to be had because of that. Now, taking that part out of it, I think Bello would probably be the better one to just go after on their own. But, man, I was just looking here at some of them bullpens a little bit earlier. I mean, it's god awful. I mean, they literally, San Diego, 7 earned runs, 38 hits they've been giving up, 26 earned runs, 6 homers already. Yes, they did have an extra series, but, I mean, they've given up 6 home runs. They got a 7 earned run average. So they haven't been doing, haven't been faring very well so far this season. But, man, I just think you get in that bullpen, you might have yourself something there.
Yeah, no, I like it for sure. Always like asking that question in baseball. See Garrett Cole get blown up a couple times a year. All of these guys do. So we're talking you, Darvish, Shane Bieber, Brian Bellows, the chalk. Those guys definitely can get hit around. I mean, especially on this slate, like no team applied for over 5.3 runs. Oakland goes up and puts a 7 spot up today. Not the craziest thing. And 7's a lot in early April DFS. So, of course, just because you put up a certain number of runs doesn't mean it transitions to optimal. You want home runs, stolen base, etc. But yeah, I mean, plenty of ways to get different. And I think it's easier to embrace variance and lower owned stuff earlier on the year than mid-year with weather, with sample sizes, etc. Teams getting hot. So you definitely can fade chalk. But let's get to the last game on the slate. 10:10 Eastern, San Francisco Giants, LA Dodgers, Logan Webb. Then it's going to be Yarbrough, it sounds like, for the bulk of the innings. Michael Grove will be in there a little bit, a bullpen game. But the Dodgers, Yarbrough will get most of the work, is how it looks like. I mean, I hate playing these Giants. Maybe you can talk me into some of these guys. Guaranteed ninth inning at bat, 65 degrees, one of the better hitting spots on the slate. Bottom of the order's cheap. I just don't like picking on bullpen games much. I don't pick on Yarbrough much. Didn't pick on him in Tampa. And then Dodgers side, I like Dodgers more than the Cubs and more than the Braves for the reason I think they're going to be half the ownership. Like I just think everyone's going to go Acuna over Mookie, Ohtani, Freeman. The bottom of the order, you get cheap bats. Lux hasn't been good at all. Hayward's cheap if he's in there, but second base Lux fills. They just have so many ways, man. Play the Dodgers every day. Play the Braves every day. You can win. Today, Dodgers are lower owned than the Braves, so I'll just side with that side in better hitting environments. Logan Webb's a better pitcher, though, so it's not like I'm saying the ownership's wrong. But, yeah, just play the Dodgers always. So, yeah, I like the Dodgers a lot today.
Yeah, I always love playing me some Mookie. I mean, that's my favorite guy. And in all of DFS to play, there's no secret about that. But, yeah, I mean, I can see your point here. I mean, Webb is a pretty good pitcher. Now, in baseball, it's funny. Like you could literally have 0 or 5 or 6 to 9 points out of your stack and get you a nice little rally going in the 7th, 8th inning and maybe get 2 more at bats. You get all the points you need. I mean, I've seen that happen many a times. We could definitely see that here today in this Dodger game because, going back, I was looking at them bullpens. You know who the worst bullpen is, Title? The ERA of 10 with 20 earned runs given up and 4 homers in literally only, 4 games? That would be the Giants. The Giants bullpen's been just god awful here lately. So now we're talking about the Dodgers coming in. So, hey, if Webb only goes 5 innings and we get, 3 innings or, if we get that 4th at bat, that 9th inning at bat, I mean, you might get all you need there at the end of that, at the end of that game. So definitely something to think about. Dodgers definitely would be a great pivot off of the Braves here tonight. So yeah, definitely like that. They are expensive if you're going to go that route. So you're probably going to have to pay down a little bit at pitching, but it'll be interesting to see. I haven't seen that lineup drop. Now, let's not forget, it's the beginning of the season. The Dodgers like to pitch hit. So, don't think here that in San Francisco, I haven't looked up and down that exact roster, but San Francisco generally always has a lot of lefties. Pretty much everybody has a lot of lefties over there in that division in their bullpen. So they know what they got to deal with. They all got to beat the Dodgers. They got a bunch of lefties over there. So they're going to be able to play matchup there with them there at the end. But as I mentioned, that bullpen's come out. It's just been absolutely garbage here. So definitely Dodgers, somebody you're going to want to look at here today. Now, one-offs over there on the San Francisco side, Soler, Chapman, I think those guys are interesting if you want to look at those guys for one-offs. But, yeah, Dodgers for me be a flat full stack. I wouldn't one-off them. I'd just stack them.
I like that. Yeah, I'd rather full 5-man them too. I think I'd rather full 5-man Braves too, and even Cubs, because Braves and Cubs will get enough ownership today where if you think they just break the slate, get all 5 of them, people will still one-off enough. Dodgers, people aren't going to play, but yeah, when Dodgers get there, like 6.4K Mookie, 6.2 Ohtani, 5.8 Freddie, like when you need all of them, they're putting up a big number. They're hitting multiple of them are hitting bombs on the slates. So yeah, I prefer the 5-man too. Now we had a question in chat before we get on out of here. Great stuff as always, G-Rise. Appreciate all the love in chat. Over 200 watching. Like button goes a long way. We appreciate that. If you want to join us at the Nation, just MLB, we have promo code MLB15. Stuff we're showing right here, these hitter rankings. Right here, someone asked, who are your favorite Toronto if you're going to stack? All I did, I go to the hitter rankings. I go to team, the Blue Jays. You can see our hitter rankings don't love the Blue Jays much. My answer to that would be I would definitely play Vlad, and I don't love the 5-man as much, but Vlad would be in every single stack. Again, projections we have up here. What'd you say?
Turner hits lefties well.
Turner right here as the second. Yeah, those two would be my favorites. 4-6 is up there a little bit. Can play him at third. Can play Vlad at first. Get a little mini stack there. But yeah, our projections will be updated throughout the night. Slate plan's already up. These are the hitter rankings. We showed some pitcher rankings, stack rankings, starting lineups, cash report, 4 core plays on FanDuel, 5 on DraftKings, GPP core report, FanDuel, DraftKings as well. Awesome stuff. Again, we really appreciate everyone hanging out. I love the chirping too. It's all love. We definitely will butcher names. Crochet, I'll remember that one though. Not the last time we'll get a name wrong. Hope everybody has a good day. Gyiraszin, I'm throwing it to you though. Final thoughts for the people besides monitor weather. Chicago games, monitor weather, refresh on that. And then Detroit or New York Mets. I'm not playing that game. Roth has it as orange, as sketch. If you guys think it plays and you like it, it'll be very low owned. Final thoughts, Gyiraszin.
Hey, I mean, this is the slate here. I think we broke it down fairly well here today, Title. I mean, we gave you some thoughts on potentially some low owned pivots on some stacks. We gave you some thoughts about some pitching. We kind of broke it all down for you. So, make your take what you got here, make your, teas look who you like. I mean, we all can't be on the same things. I always laugh, especially baseball, when you see these, these guys that give out, a lineup or whatever else. Why the hell do you want to play the same stinking lineup in a tournament in baseball? So try to be a little bit different. Let's have some fun today, beginning part of the season. And hey, we don't always got to break out. I'm not playing that $1,200 Q here today, Title, because I mean, if we're in May, June, and I had some good numbers behind it, but hey, let's not forget, we're still here at the beginning stages of baseball. Some of these guys, aren't stretched out. They're, not seeing the ball yet. Well, so, that's why I mentioned possibly going after Valdez today with Toronto. I mean, he came out the gate, looked like shit. How do we know? Maybe he's not there yet. Comes out the gate again against an all right-handed lineup. That's why we mentioned maybe it's a nice low-owned pivot. But, hey, make your decisions. Let's have some fun. Keep your eyes on the weather. Maybe we'll have us a nice little fun Twitter party tonight with some nice screenshots. And then guess what? We get to get right back at it here tomorrow. I think it's you and I back here at it tomorrow. Yes, so we're going to have some fun. But I'm going to warn you all tomorrow. I got a bowl tomorrow at 4:30. So my ass ain't going to be talking here at 4:43 still because I got a bowl. My teammates will be pissed. I'm the anchor man. I can get there a little late, but they're going to be mad now, Title, if I don't show up. So, but it's only 5 minutes down the road. That's a good thing on the way home after them. I had to get picked up last week, Title. It was bad news.
Bad news bears. I will say too, Gyiraszin, tomorrow early slate. I don't even know, to be honest. We'll be on the lookout for the shows in the Discord, but early slate is taken over tomorrow. There's only my time, so 7:10, 7:40, and 8:10 are the only 3 games that lock at night. So yeah, early slate. We'll have to see what we're gonna do with that. Be in the Discord.
Maybe we'll do it a nooner. How about a nooner?
Maybe we will, Gyiraszin. We'll talk with the guys. We'll get a plan up for that, though. We'll have all of the content, as always. I'm glad you mentioned it. We still have NBA going on. Rio's still grinding it. Great slate today. All the content will be up for that. No better time. Get over MMA going on. PGA, NASCAR, MLB, NBA. So much money to be made.
Man, we got the Masters rolling up here, Title. We got the Masters action coming. Man, this is some good time of the year.
UFC 300, baby. So much good on the horizon. Hoop 15 if you want all the sports. Week or monthly, 6-month annual packages. If you just want MLB for the summer, again, monthly, 6-month annual packages. $14 a week, $39 a month, $229 a season. Use that promo code MLB15, though. It takes off of that. $1 a day. It comes out to $33 for MLB for the entire month. $229 takes it down to $195, if my math is right, on the season. Can't beat those prices. Save some money to play your own volume. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Really, really do. Say it all the time. Last couple people. Michael, Big Neck. Greg, Crochet, Michael. Thank you guys as always. Hit the like, hit the subscribe on the way out. Let's see some Shipping Nation logos up top. For my man Gyiraszin, I'm Titletown. Be safe. Have a good night.